Welcome to the Service MVP podcast. My name is Joe Crisara, America's Service Sales Coach. And today we have on with us a very special guest. We have Brendan Hughson, who is with Redwood Services. Brendan, say hello. How are you doing today?
Hey everybody, I appreciate you having me on today, Joe.
Well, Brendan works for Redwood Services, and he is going to help us identify the three things that contractors can do to make them more valuable. So, there's a certain sense of value that every business creates to its community, and to also attract investors, or even attract yourself who invests in your company, right? So, there's a lot of great stuff right now with private equity, and Brendan at Redwood Services is right in the heart of it. They have a unique approach, and he's going to help us go over the things that the private equity firms look for when they invest, and things you would look for when you reinvest in your company. I think that's going to be, it works for everybody. Brendan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and Redwood Services and tell us how you got started with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the trades pretty much my entire life. My father has been a plumber since he was 22 years old, and he opened his own plumbing company about 23 years ago. So since I can remember, I was in the back of a plumbing truck assembling fittings when I was like 5 years old. And he taught me the trade, and I worked with him growing up, for about till I was about 16, and I found out that I had a love for cars over plumbing. So I sort of left the trade, but I always circled back. It was like my calling to be in the trades or around the trades in some sort. And over the last 10 years, I've consulted and educated contractors, either on best practice to scale revenue, to grow their business, either in the marketing space or best practices, and now with exit strategy or potentially taking on a partnership here at Redwood Services. A little bit,
Great.
a little bit about Redwood Services. We were founded in 2020. We're based in Memphis, and we're building, a family of people-focused essential home service companies that are nationwide. We love to invest in the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical trades, primarily in the residential space, and we have currently 10 partners across the U.S.
But it struck me when I first met you at True Grit last year, here in we had our event, and you came to the event, and you actually helped sponsor it. Was the you were selective. It wasn't just hey, we just throwing money at people and hoping to buy, compile a big bundle of contractors. You definitely are taking this space in a way that I think a lot of people would want it to be, where you're you have to be selective when you're taking on companies, but the company has to be selective when they're taking on a partner like you too, right? So that's why I'm really glad we're here today to help contractors look at it, to say, we should build this business, whether you want to make it valuable, maybe if you hand it over to your son, maybe make it more valuable to keep it yourself, or make it more valuable to take on a partner to help you grow the business, to use the phrase is to use other people's money to help the capital that they provide to help do some of the things that you would normally be unable to do, and also get the experience and stuff. Is that an important factor, Brendan, that you also help provide some of those? I heard you said you provide some of those best practices and things, kind of seeing where the owner may have a blind spot. Is that a factor that you run into when you're doing this?
Oh, absolutely. We work with plenty of different companies that have gotten to a point where, they're extremely profitable. They have a solid brand. They have a phenomenal culture, but they just need help taking it to that extra step. And that's where we can come in and help with the training, best practices, the capital to grow, invest more into their people. For example, we just created a university for Rightway, our partner out of Tucson, to basically train and groom their techs from the ground up. And that's been extremely successful. So you're 100% correct.
Well, that's great. Let's go over the three things that you think that businesses you traditionally see as you're looking through these businesses. The three things that you think you would give advice to, I call them small bigs. You make this small change, and it can help create a big result. And sometimes it's really obvious, sometimes it's not so obvious. Why don't you tell us what the first thing is that you think a business could do to increase the value of their company so that it would be more attractive to invest in?
Absolutely. I think one of the first things I look for is a strong brand. What does your reputation look like? What is the reputation of your business throughout the industry and to your customers in the marketplace? Along with your market share. How much of the market do you actually own? Do you own your backyard? Is your brand everywhere we look in that market? Along with the fact, that you're diversified when it comes to your marketing, digitally and traditionally, and have a lot of customer loyalty overall. I think, lastly, what really makes a strong brand is employees who are proud to work for your company. That's the culture part of it. And we've noticed, when you have happy employees that are basically a champion of your brand, those companies tend to be about 20+% more profitable because their employees are invested in what you're doing. So I would say that was the first portion of what we're looking for. There is a strong brand, but there's a lot of other things that follow under that.
Yeah, so the brand, but also to make sure that there's a human initiative that everybody, the belief in the brand. In a way, you can see that the employees are believing in the brand when they are strongly helping to push the initiative and the culture forward. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think when we purchase any business, I think the employees are probably the number one asset that we're purchasing, right? When we get that human power to get people to the next level. What do you think of that, Brendan?
Absolutely agree. Yeah, without the employees, being invested into the company and its success, along with an experienced management team in place, the company can't really survive. Now, granted, the owners that created that culture and cultivated that are an important key part of this as well, in that brand. And that's something that we're also looking for is an owner that still has fuel left in the tank, that still wants to run, still wants to grow, but at the same time has a succession plan in place to hand the keys over to whomever they please to do so in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of different combinations. Not as simple. It's kind of like a Rubik's cube. It's got like somebody could say, I'm going to give it to my son, but I also would like to have some guidance from somebody else who's got a lot more experience. So my family's going to take over the business and I'm going to retire, but I do want them to be in better hands and have them use your capital as opposed to coming to their dad all the time for my retirement fund to get that part of it, right? So I mean, there's could be a lot of different a lot of ways to slice this to where the family could keep it, and because you guys, I noticed you're not just a takeover business where you're saying, okay, we're taking over the business and we're gonna turn it into the Redwood way. It's like, no. Tell us a little bit more about that, about how Redwood does that, because I was really impressive. I thought that you're truly somebody who allows people to use the capital, but also allows them to use the energy to grow this thing, not Redwood doing all the work and all the heavy lifting. They're still truly a partner on this. Is that correct, Brendan?
Yeah, you nailed it. We're not in the business to buy companies or acquire assets. We're here to truly invest into a great partnership because, quite frankly, these people have phenomenal teams and great brands and great cultures, and we want them to keep doing what they're doing. And that's the reason we're interested in doing a partnership with their business in the first place, is because how successful they've been and continue to be. And we just want to add fuel to that fire. And there's so many different ways, like you were just mentioning, a deal structure could be done or whom you can hand it down to. But overall, when we partner with a company, we're not putting our management in place. We're not changing their brand. We're not putting our mission statement on their wall. They're still the company that they've created, and the legacy that they're protecting is going to continue on. And they still run the daily operations. They're just leaning on us for the extra support.
So when you're looking at this and you're trying to make the business more valuable, I suppose that it manifests itself. Part of it, the employee part of it is like, what's the employee retention rate like? Do we have people there who have been there for a long time and who are sticking around, or do we cycle through employees all the time. I get that you could probably see the churn rate on employees, and then probably the call count for the brand are we getting it manifests itself to see that the calls are increasing year over year. It doesn't have to be massive increases, but that we're having traction. Is that am I on the right track there, Brendan? I'm just taking. I guess I have to take the test from you and see if that's just my own little quiz. I'm quizzing myself as to how I'm imagining how that manifests itself. Am I on the right track there?
You are on the right track. You are. One thing that we're extremely proud of, and we live by this too, is we haven't lost any key managers out of any of the partnerships that we've done over the last couple of years. And that says something about retaining the culture and allowing them to run and grow and just feeling that fire for their management teams, their employees overall. And with that, with the provided training and best practices, refining strategies for them to grow is going to allow that call count to increase and revenue to increase and everything else. It's a snowball effect, basically.
And that should even get employees excited, right? That this company is on the rise. We're not they didn't sell it and they're trying to reduce and get out of it. They're doing this and they're staying in it, and they're seeking to grow. And when the company grows, every employee becomes more of a potential leader, and should get more turned on. I think when this kind of thing happens, is that the goal of your company? That when you do it, what do you want the culture to feel like after they've received this investment from you? What do you want the culture to feel like there, Brendan?
We have a motto is putting people before profits. And our CEO, John Conway, has said it perfectly. Being a people-centered business is an action. It's not a statement. It's not something that you just talk about. It's something that you live by and do. And when the employees feel that and they see that, they're even more invested into the company and helping it grow because they see a runway of opportunity for themselves to grow into other positions financially. Their benefits are going to be better. So there's a lot of upside for the employees, to move further within this business and not just be stuck.
Well, definitely, I was very proud to have John Conway as a client of ours. Definitely, he was. I remember him very well, and how serious he took the training of the team, and definitely the team definitely honored the brand when we had them in our training. And definitely, I see that for sure. What is the number two thing we could do? Man, it's just like I could go on forever about this, and probably could talk all day because we're both in the same business, trying to help people reach their dreams. Really, in a way, does that make sense, there, Brendan?
Yes, it does. And to answer your question, the second thing that we'll be looking at here is profitability. Of course, I would say that is, of course, going to be one of the most important things besides a strong brand and your employees. Is your cash flow. What does your net profitability look like over the last 12 months? And do you have steady revenue growth year over year? When investors look into a business, they want to see a business growing year over year, have steady growth, have good cash flow, and usually have, I would say, a net of around 10 to 20% of gross revenue is key. So that would be the second pillar of what we're looking for.
That's interesting because there was a time, Brendan, when somebody was purchased or it was invested into by a private equity group, where they would look at it like, okay, now that we got this in money, let's cut back on the training because now we're funded and we don't have to train or whatever. Yeah, they kind of cut back because they're trying to reduce that expense to make the profit look better after they do it. But now it's come full circle, though, that I see a lot of private equity firms are saying, hey, no, the training is it's required to use that money, and we're going to give you this money. We want to see you use that money for training or in developing your people, because we mentioned in number one about how the people are important. The training is a way to show that the company invests in the people, right? Could you tell us a little more about that and how you'd like to see companies to grow that profit and to make sure it is profitable and that people grow in the company, about the investment and the destination for the investment, so people don't think it is stick it in their pocket, that they want to use that money to grow, right? Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, of course. When it comes down to training, especially with the Redwood Partners, they are a part of Nexstar. They do have John Conway at their fingertips, along with Scott Brinkley and a full partner support team standing behind them. but they have the free will to choose other groups as well, because we believe in the fact that you're not going to learn everything just from one group. Being diversified with training, learning from different best practice groups or coaches, that all trickles down to all the other partners within the Redwood Services family. And if they can all benefit from it, phenomenal. They're all going to learn. So we do have a big emphasis on training and teaching and overall, grooming people from the ground up. Tend to be some of the best employees that you could ever bring on. So best practice groups are essential in our eyes for potential partners to be invested into and always be learning. Because if you're not learning, you're going to be stagnant. There's no doubt about that.
Well, that is really interesting because a lot of private equity, a lot of investment companies are investing, and it's like investment and takeover. This sounds to me like you're establishing sort of a dream, really, which is a peer group of like-minded professionals with people who are powerful to give you the advice you need. Sort of like, if you took on like Mark Cuban, you see on Shark Tank, you don't get the money he gives you is not the most valuable thing. It's the experience and the connections that he gives you. Would you say it's it's similar to that there, Brendan, where it seems like that's a unique approach compared to more of a predatory takeover? This is more of a thing where you're just giving people the fuel. Is that am I on the right track there?
You are. And you mentioned a second ago, like peer groups, for example. All of our partners and their basically key managers have peer group meetings with every other partner company and management team every month to learn from each other. So the call center managers meet with the call center managers, the GMs meet with the GMs, the marketing directors meet with the marketing directors, and so on. And that way they could share best practices amongst themselves. Uh, you know, outside from what they're learning from an exterior training source. So it's been extremely beneficial having these awesome companies just share their own best practices and seeing them all in a room, sharing those best practices and going, what are you doing to sell 50 tankless units a month? I can't even get 10 out the door, So they're learning from each other, and it's just a phenomenal thing to see.
That's the thing that really gets me excited when I see that because when I heard it, that's why I brought you on. It wasn't that just bringing anybody on. It's the pure motive. I think it's a pure motive, which is really you're focusing on your client. You're partnering with people, but you're focusing on the benefit that everybody gets from this, which isn't just because I've seen so many times where people just throw money at people and then say you figure it out. This is really the expertise and such a tangible piece that's needed, which is really a leadership element. I think that's going well. Man, we got to get moving here. It's number 3, Brendan. We could stop any one of these things. We could stay on for 20 minutes on, but let's go ahead. Number 3, Brendan. What's number 3? What's the third element that you think would help make the company more valuable? The profit's important, and that network of having people to help you get there is important. What's number 3? Or do we already hit on number 3? I don't know. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I don't know. I don't think we did. I'm actually going to combine two here. It's just basically, when it comes down to number 3, we're looking at growth potential, of course, of the company, where the low hanging fruit is, where can we tighten things up as far as training and procedures to drive more organic growth and to become more efficient. Along with, and I sort of alluded to this in the strong brand, again, going back to the employees. A strong and an experienced management team is huge when it comes to evaluating a potential partnership, because a lot of those people in those key positions could potentially be the ones in the succession plan that take over the business in the future. So number 3, growth potential mixed in with the experienced management team is going to be huge.
Great. So you have things that they may have like you can see things like, man, when we give these people this information on this new profit center, I feel the same way. Us, one of the things we do at teaching here is teaching people how to not just do warranties and services, but make that part of the profitable mix. And a lot of people don't even charge for that; they give it away, and we're like, hey guys, you gotta learn how to. This is 37 to 42% profitable revenue, 80% gross profit. You're giving it right now for free. We need to start incorporating it into the pricing. And that's what excites me, because people like that aha moments that they have, like, oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
sense of value just immediately washes over people, and including both of us, both me and them. I feel I get turned down when I see that we're able to help a company by establishing a profit center. Is that what the kind of feeling? I mean, Brendan, describe the feeling you get when you see a successful partner being onboarded and some of those aha moments that they've achieved. Do you go back and ever talk to some of those people and see how they're doing and things like that? Tell me how that goes.
Of course, I would say we're a very tight-knit group of people between the partner companies and the partner support team in Memphis at Redwood. We talk daily. You know, we see what's going on. We have the questions coming in. We're helping them left and right. But when it comes down to it, we're watching people's lives change, and it's just not the owners. It's also their key managers and their employees' lives change for the better. And it's very rewarding to see the outcome of a partnership, even within the first month of that partnership happening. It really fulfills, I guess you could say, what I do for a living. I'm very proud of it. And I couldn't ask for a better team to work with across the partners and across Redwood.
That is something, and that although there is a price that people use to invest, and there's a financial obligation to do all that. Truthfully, it is priceless to get that gift of what you just mentioned, which is seeing the outcome of personal growth on not just the owners but all the employees, and a sense of value that everybody feels stronger, more confident, and they feel cared for. That's kind of what I'm
Yeah,
sensing. Am I on the right track there with Redwood Services?
I gotta say, Joe, you've been on track the entire time.
Well, I learned a lot about you. I was like, when I first met you at True Grit, I'm like, man, where'd this guy come from? And I had a blind spot, truthfully, and that's why I thought I would illuminate that blind spot, for the industry. It doesn't mean it's for everybody, but obviously it is for, people who are looking for that better structure. I think I've seen that, John Conway, I trust him implicitly. I know that he is pure motive all the way, from the roots of Nexstar and even taking on having an open mind about our training and things like that, and just doing a lot of different things that anything we can to grow the company, that really makes me good. And Brendan, do you have any final thoughts you want to mention, bring up before we? I always say a good meeting starts on time and a great one ends on time. Well, it's too late because we're a little bit over time, but that's okay. I got plenty. I'm flexible. I have a flexible agenda too. Anything else you want to add to this before we wrap it up?
Yeah, if you're out there thinking about taking on a partnership or selling your business, or maybe you haven't even thought of that, I believe everybody should sit down at some point and think of either those two, either selling or some type of succession plan or a partnership, because you do want to have your legacy live on, right? You want your employees to still be employed. And if you're going to do that eventually one day, just know what you want and focus on that, not only for yourself, but also for your employees, and educate yourself on the process so it's more comfortable when you go through it. That would be probably my final thoughts on that.
Brendan, how do people get a hold of you and Redwood Service? They want to have a conversation. Just even the exercise of just going through the kind of questions you would be asked is a consultative process that
Yeah.
will add value right there alone. Do you feel that's true, Brendan? That just
I,
even just talking and seeing having somebody else see some of the blind spots. Tell me about that a little bit.
yeah, it is true. We're more than happy to educate and consult anyone on the process, along with educating them on maybe when it is the best time to do it. Maybe you should hold out, maybe you shouldn't. So if they were looking to get in contact with me, they could always shoot me an email at Brendan, which is BRENDAN at redwoodservices.com, or shoot me a call or text on my cell, which is 661-210-9368. And I'm usually always available unless I'm sleeping. But
well, definitely, it's a rest that's well earned based on all the travel you do and things like that. Brendan, thank you so much for being a part of the show, and thanks for helping contractors see those 3 keys to creating higher value in their company. I really appreciate you.
appreciate you as well, Joe. Thank you.
Well,